But we'll start with Shabbos Hagadol. You know, the Shabbat before Passover is known as Shabbat Hagadol, the great Shabbat. Why is it called Shabbat Hagadol? Okay. It says the following. There's a lot of reasons. You recall the Bnei Yisrael was commanded to take the Korban Pesach, to take the animal, starting the 10th day of Nisan, and they would slaughter it on the 14th day of Nisan. It does not say this in the Torah, but according to the oral tradition, the 10th day of Nisan fell on Shabbat, and the Erev Pesach, the original Pesach Mitzrayim, Erev Shabbat, I should say Pesach was Thursday. It's Thursday. Okay, so they took it on. It so happened they went ahead and they took the lamb on Shabbat. That was the 10th day of Nisan and time of Egypt, and you have to realize, obviously, they didn't have all the mitzvos of Shabbat at that point, because they're taking the animal, maybe even purchasing it from other people. I don't know if they had it on their own, and I don't think they had their own animals. I'm not sure. So anyway, they got it on Shabbat, and the Egyptians knew what was the purpose for that. They found, when they asked them, why are you all buying, getting these animals? And they told them that they're going to slaughter it as a Paschal lamb. So obviously the Egyptians were very upset about that. I mean, you're taking our gods and you're going to slaughter them. So nevertheless, although they were upset, they did not hurt the Jews in any way. And it was really a miracle that God performed. They were saved. And therefore it was called Shabbat HaGadol, the Great Sabbath. So that was the 10th day of Nisan of those days.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
It's Warren. Hey, Warren and Sarah.
Yeah.
I'll make a quick comment. Many years ago in the yeshiva, I heard one of the Rabbanim say the reason they call it Shabbos HaGadol is because on that Shabbos, the Rab makes a very long drasha.
That's true too. There's many reasons. Yeah. No, that's true too.
It was said by one of the Rabbanim.
Yeah. Yeah. And another reason is, get it? Oh yeah. In terms of the first mitzvah at Bnei Yisrael, that the people of Israel performed, the first mitzvah was to take the animal, the lamb, for a Paschal for the offer for Paschal lamb. So since it was like the first mitzvah they're performing as a community, it's like if they're now obligating themselves to do mitzvahs. It's like a person getting a bar mitzvah is now obligated to do mitzvahs. So there's a celebration. So on the Shabbat Hagadol, there's a special Shabbat. They began performing mitzvahs as a community. That's another particular mitzvah. Okay, now it says, let me give you one more answer. Oh yeah, there's also a custom, I think maybe some people have this custom, that the Shabbat before Passover, they review the Haggadah. They review the story about the Haggadah. Or according to some, it was children were gathered together in the synagogue, and they were reviewing parts of the Haggadah with the children. Or sometimes the teenagers, whatever it may be. So therefore, they would call it something very important, Shabbat HaGadol. There was a custom, this is brought down in some of the commentators. We always call the Shabbat before Passover the Great Shabbat. But it seems that it's customary in many other places that any Shabbat before a holiday, they call Shabbat HaGadol. So we find that they call it Shabbat HaGadol Shel Shavuos, or Shabbat HaGadol Shel Sukkot, and so on. We used to go ahead can also label all the holidays as the Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbat before the holidays. Nowadays, we only do it for Passover. But other communities used to call the Shabbat before the holiday also a Shabbat Gadol. Okay, okay. Let's start with the actual Haggadah. So the first thing that we do during the Haggadah, say the night. First of all, you have to say the plate, right? The ka'ara. And what's on the Seder plate? What do you put on the Seder plate?
Moror.
Okay, so moror. That's bitter herbs. And you're going to have also a bone that you're going to roast. And what does that remind us of?
Korban Pesach.
Korban Pesach, because that was roasted. Then you have also the egg. Why do we have an egg? Because in order to
The ashes.
No, not the ashes. The besides the sacrifice, the Paschal lamb, besides the lambs that they had in the Holy Temple and during Passover, they also had another offering. It was known as the Chagigah, the holiday sacrifice.
Oh, Haggadah.
I think I mentioned that, the Chagigah.
Yeah.
Right. So how does an egg represent the Chagigah? Because you had to eat a minimum of
a kazayas.
Not a kazayas, no, an egg size. It's a little bigger than a kazayas. With matzah, it's a kazayas. Like any mitzvah that refers to eating, usually it's kazayas, an olive size, because you'll ask anybody how much is an olive size, and everybody will give you a different answer. Okay, I'll get to that too.
I have a sheet for a kazayas of matzah. It's 3/4 of a sheet.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's not
large.
an olive size.
Everybody gives you a big size. Some say it's only 1/3 of a matzah. Some say it's half a matzah. It's everyone has a different amount. Sometimes some people say it's just the size of your fist. So it's I think I mentioned this one time. They asked Rav Soloveitchik, Rebbe, how much do you eat before kazayas, before it's an olive size of matzah? And he answered them, I eat until the point I think I ate an olive size. So in other words, we don't know exactly what an olive size is. We do, I don't know. I usually do 1/3 of a matzah, approximately, but it could be even less than that. I don't know. Okay, anyway, that's the. So, but when it came to the Chagigah, holiday sacrifice was the size of an egg, a kibetza, and that's a little larger than an olive size. Okay, so that's why I have an egg.
Karpas.
That's why do you have karpas?
So we can dip.
No, what is the symbolism behind karpas? Some people use celery, some people use, I don't know what else they use.
Lettuce.
What?
Roman lettuce.
Yeah, some people use, Roman lettuce they use for the moror, the bitter herbs. But for the karpas, usually it's celery, usually. And then you dip the celery into salt. But why do we have celery? Or why do we have karpas?
It's a foreshback.
Besides, that might be true, but it's because to remind us that Passover always falls in the springtime. That's it. And you dip it in salt water, as salt water represents.
I remember once Passover, it snowed on Passover in April.
Yeah, that's possible.
I remember that. It
Yeah.
represents the tears of Jewish people because of hardship.
That's right. The salt water is tears, and the karpas is the celery, or whatever you want to use. The springtime. So when we went out of Egypt, it wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. It was, springtime. It'd be a nice time to leave Egypt. And then you also have the moror, the bitter herbs. So that's obvious. Bitter herbs, bitter times. Some people use. Somebody mentioned it before. Romaine lettuce. Now, the problem with romaine lettuce, it does have bugs in it. You got to clean it thoroughly. Although there's a company that I forgot the name of the company where they really wash it well, and you could buy the romaine lettuce that's completely prepared for the Seder. Yes. What else is on the plate? We said, oh, and 3 matzos. Oh yeah. Excuse me. For the Seder night only, you could use you should use a matzah shmura matzah. That is 2 types of shmura matzah. There's the machine shmura or hand shmura, whatever you want to use. It doesn't matter as long as it's a matzah shmura. And what's the difference between matzah shmura and the regular matzah you buy in the store?
From the time it's harvested, the way the wheat is watched at what time?
Yeah. When it comes to the matzah shmura, we call it shmura, means it was bartered from the time of harvesting. And usually it says that on the package. From the time of harvesting, it was watched. That no chametz should get onto it. The regular matzah that's kosher to Passover, you buy from the store, it's b'shas lisha when you're kneading the dough. Okay, that's the difference. But so definitely, in order to fulfill the mitzvah on Passover night at the Seder, you should have whatever you like, whether it's machine shmura or hand shmura, both are acceptable. That so they covered everything with the on the point. Yeah, I think so. Okay, now the first thing that you're going to do at the Seder is Kadesh. You're making Kiddush. But since the first night of Passover is Saturday night, it's not just going to be Kiddush. What else are you going to have besides the Kiddush for the first night?
Havdalah.
Havdalah. Good. Okay. So this is going to be your first cup of wine. And of course, after the Kiddush and Havdalah, you're going to drink it. But how do you fulfill the mitzvah of having the candle? You have to have a Havdalah candle. You got to light a Havdalah candle. Because you really can't strike a match.
You can hold the 2 candles together and make a flame.
Yeah. You could do one thing. There's one thing you could do. You could take the candles that you light for covered dumping. You can light candles. So you could take 2 of those candles and put it together. And you could go ahead and use that as you have Havdalah candle to reflect your nails on the light of those candles. To do it that way.
So how do you light the candles for Pesach?
Well, you could have a light.
A yard site should be 24 hours.
You have that all. You should leave usually you leave one light on the stove for Shabbos, so you can take fire from fire. And once you have an existing light,
right,
you go and take it from the existing light. But if you don't want to do that, you use the electrical bulbs. You reflect your nails towards the electrical bulbs. That's what I do sometimes.
What do you mean electrical?
The bulbs themselves.
But I was told it has to be where the filament is exposed. It can't be a fluorescent bulb. You have to be able to see the filament. That's what I was told.
Well, look, the best way is you're lighting your candles. You take 2 of those candles and put it together, and you can reflect your nails against those candles. Or if you want, you can use the electrical lights. It's that's what you could do for the candles. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the lights for Havdalah?
Yeah, because what do you use? A Havdalah candle? You can't blow it out. That's the problem. So if you have your candles that you lift on the candles, you can put 2 candles together.
Why couldn't you extinguish it in wine?
Extinguish
if
what
you
in
pour
wine?
the wine on and then you put the Havdalah candle in that.
You can't put out a fire. You're not allowed to put out fire on Shabbos. You can't do that. That's a problem. So that's why some people use the electrical bulbs you have on already. You can use that. That makes it a little easier. You don't have to use any 2 candles or Havdalah candle, but you can't put it out. That's the problem. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so you're making this Havdalah and Kiddush, and at the end of the actual Kiddush, You drink the wine, not the normal way, like you might be sitting and drinking it. What you have to do something special in some of the mitzvahs of Pesach. But in order to fulfill the mitzvah, you must do an additional thing. What are you going to do? You lean on your left side. See, so that's part of the mitzvah. And why do we lean? Why do we lean?
So take it out of the ordinary. Kings leaned.
Okay, it was because those days especially, it was a sign of a free person reclining on the side. Okay, for us, sometimes we find it uncomfortable. But anyway, you should do it just when it comes to drinking the 4 cups of wine. Oh yeah, the other thing is when talking about the wine or grape juice, whatever you want to use, when we say you have to drink it, you don't have to drink the whole cup. You're having 4 cups, but how much wine, or how large must the glass be, or the goblet be, in order to fulfill the requirement of drinking wine? Or
3.5 ounces.
It's something like that, or 4 ounces. And you don't have to drink all the 4 ounces, 3.5 ounces, whatever. Again, this dispute about how much is the amount. But when you do drink it, you have to drink this rope close, majority of the cup. You don't have to drink the full cup. And you lean on your left side, sign of a free person. Yeah.
So if you have a cup that's 8 ounces, and you have to drink half the cup, or
yeah, that's a lot. You have to a little more than 4 ounces. So that's why I don't advise you to have a large cup. Have a cup that could hold about 4.5 ounces.
Okay, but if you have a cup that's 8 ounces, why can't you only drink half the cup?
Because the mitzvah is rolled close. You have to drink majority of the glass. If you have a grape juice, it says I suppose it doesn't really matter. I think if you're drinking only wine, that's a lot of wine. Having 4 cups like that.
Yeah, no. I thought if you only had to drink 4 ounces, but the answer is the majority of the cup.
Oh yeah. Oh, if you have a cup that's 8 ounces, let's say, then you'll have to drink a little more than 4 ounces each time. But if you have a cup that holds 4 ounces, all you have to do is majority of that cup, which is much less.
So you don't have to drink 4 ounces. You could drink 3 ounces or 2 ounces.
Yeah, the cup has to hold at least
so you get a very small
which is
cup.
about 4 ounces. Everyone, again, when it comes to these measurements, everyone will give you a different amount. We don't know exactly how much is it. What we call a revius, a quarter of a lug in their measurements. So the lug, it's simply like a pint. Again, everybody will give you a different amount. But if the lug is a pint, then a quarter of a lug would be 4 ounces. So that's why your cup should hold at least 4 ounces. Again, but if it's going to be more, you have to drink a little more. You have to drink the rove coats, the majority of the cup that you're using. So don't use a big cup. Use a big cup for Aliyah Hanavi. Yeah. All right. So you're drinking that first cup, leaning on the left side, and you now have fulfilled the mitzvah of the first cup. Okay, now.
What do you do with the wine from Eliyahu?
I use it for Kiddush the following morning. You don't have to drink it. So you have like an extra cup. Him, you could have whatever size you want. You want a big cup? Yeah. But then I usually use that wine or grape juice, whatever I'm using. I save it for the next morning, the next day, and I use them in Kiddush during the daytime. Okay. The next thing is urchat. Yeah. Now, usually you're washing before eating a bread or a matzah, right? So why are we washing now? Because we're going to eat a vegetable.
Not everybody washes. Sometimes only the head of the table.
That's true, but why are we washing at all? Where did this come about? We understand washing before eating a matzah, because we always do it. That's before we have a meal, a Shabbat meal or a holiday meal, you're going to be washing, making you wash and then you have the bread, whatever it is, the challah. Why are we washing before vegetables? Okay, but some say, this on the Seder night, we want to do the best possible way. And in the Gemara, there is an opinion. It's one opinion that some people say that you should wash before you have your vegetable. But we know that's not really the halacha. That's not really that's not our custom. We don't do that. Since it's Passover night, and we want to do the best possible way, we do wash, but we don't say a bracha because that's not the usual custom is not like that. We don't wash, but we don't say a bracha. Right? We wash, you say a bracha. Here we don't say that's why we don't say a bracha, because it's an opinion of some people that you should wash before you have vegetables. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you go ahead and eat your karpas or whatever you're using, celery or whatever, you don't have to recline because this is just a custom to eat a vegetable or just to remind us that it's springtime. But there's no, in fact, most of the things we do on the Seder night, it's not written in the Torah. It doesn't say any place.
It was not Seder.
It doesn't say that you have to have that. This was introduced later on. The only thing it talks about is the paschal lamb, matzah, and bitter herbs. Charoshes it doesn't talk about. Charoshes, karpas, none of it is. It's not. No mention of such a thing. Okay, but this was added on later, and we to remind us of springtime and so on. So we need the karpas. We don't have to recline, sit up straight. Now you have in front of you now 3 matzos. Comes the next part, yachatz. What do you do with the middle matzah?
You take that, break it in half.
Yeah, why do we do that? You break it in half or whatever. You hide it for eating later for yafikom. Why do we have a situation like that? Why do we do that for? Everything has a reason. Because the Torah calls matzah matzah's only, which means a poor man's matzah. Symbolically, we're trying to show that a poor man would have to make from 1 meal 2 meals. So we take in the middle matzah, we break it, and we hide it. Just symbolic of showing that it's a poor man's bread. It's another, because the matzah is called that. Matzah is only a poor man's bread. So a poor man breaks his matzah, maybe he can't have he can't eat everything up that he has. He has to make 2 meals out of 1. So symbolically, it means it was a poor man's bread. I mean, we hide we put it aside till later. I mean, the whole even afikomen, we call the afikomen, that also was just to keep up the kids, make them interested. They're looking for the matzah. Usually that's the custom of the family. They hide the matzah, and the kids try to find the matzah, which later on he could ask for a present for the matzah.
But you eat it as a dessert, so why wouldn't it be like if the dessert is a rich man?
Yeah, but the matzah itself is called matzah's only, a poor man's bread.
Or
look, I said you have to use shmura matzah. Why can't you use egg matzah?
It's not kosher lePesach.
It is. No, it is. They make it kosher lePesach. They do.
It says lechem only, and egg matzahs have eggs in it and other things. It's not a poor man's matzah. It's a rich matzah.
Right. You can't. You're right. You cannot use egg matzah because they add eggs or apple juice. I think you also add matzah only when you say poor man's bread, poor man's matzah.
There's apple juice in it.
Yeah, it's apple juice. So we can't use apple juice or eggs. It's both, I think. So that's not poor man's bread. Poor man's bread, when we say matzah's only, means flour and water. That's it. Finish. 2 ingredients. Nothing beyond that. So therefore, egg matzah cannot be used on Passover night. I find some people using it. Maybe they don't realize it. You can't use egg matzah. You're not fulfilling any mitzvah. You can't. What do you want to say?
But this particular Erev Shabbos, Pesach, for Lechem Mishnah, I see we can use it for
this is
Pesach.
You're right.
Early afternoon,
because we have that in Braila. We have no other choice. Because you don't want to eat matzah, the regular matzah, because the first time you should eat is at the Seder night. But how do you fulfill the mitzvah of the 3rd meal on Shabbat? You can't have any challahs because you finished with it, whatever the time is, 10:15 in the morning. So some permit egg matzah at that time.
Friday night, but wait a second.
Well, you're eating Friday night. You also eat chametz.
Egg matzah.
Yeah, big Friday night. Even eat chametz. If you're not because yeah, Friday night, whatever.
So Saturday for lunch, for Shabbos lunch, you can still eat. It's too late to eat challah because you already had the already passed the time.
Right. So
it's too. That's why.
So that's why you could some permit egg matzah. Yeah, you can't eat or and now it's like we did it 2 years ago. Then we davened a little earlier, and before we read the Torah, we had kiddush. And we're able to go ahead and wash on challah. Still before, whatever it is, like 10:15, 10:20 is the time the time that you can't eat chametz anymore. So we only daven the chakras, and before reading the Torah, we went outside, we kiddush, and we never to use a regular challah. You can do that too. As long as you have before whatever that time happens to be, 10:15, 10:20, whatever the time is. Yeah, okay. That you could do. But you have to keep it separate.
You can eat egg matzah Friday night too.
If you so desire. But you still can eat chametz if you want. Keep it separate. Right. That's how if you already want to be kosher Pesach, you want the kitchen and all that. You have to leave, and you want to use rolls, chametz rolls. You keep it on a separate place and eat your challah there, and then you come to the table and have your Shabbat meal. But so usually it's kosher Pesach anyway.
But you have to finish it. You can't have a leftover.
Well, if you have any crumbs left over from the challah or whatever you're using for that Friday night, you flush it down the toilet. That's what you do. If you have no other way of doing it, you can't burn it. Because we're burning the chametz this year on Friday morning.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah. Friday morning, right? Friday morning, I think. Yeah. So, but you have still left over. You still could eat chametz Friday night and early Saturday morning. But you have to leave the challah, whatever but you're only going to have your challah. That's all you really need for chametz on a separate table. Then after you finish that, you go back to the regular table you always eat, which is already kosher for Passover.
Yeah.
That's the best you can do. Okay, it's a little different this year. It's a little. It hasn't been like this since 2008. It was the last time we had Pesach falling on Saturday night as the first Seder night. It's a little complicated, but okay, we'll get through it. Okay. So what did we say? We talked about the middle matzah we break. It's hidden, and then we go to the longest part of the Haggadah, which is known as Magid. Right? We tell the story.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
living on the Shabbos.
Yes.
2008.
Yeah. No, 2008 was the last time. The Manishtana was it's part of that. This part of Haggadah. Yeah. Before you go ahead and you recite the Manishtana, you pour whatever you're using, wine or grape juice, for the second cup. Just pour it, because you're not going to drink it till before the meal. Okay. And somebody recites Manishtana, usually a little kid does it. If not, anybody who's present could recite it. Okay. Now, okay. By the way, the translation that you usually see, it's not really correct. Usually they translate Manishtana, why is this night different than any other night? That's the usual translation you will find. But is that really a correct translation? I say it's wrong. A lot of commentators bring it up. Because what does ma mean? Manishtana.
What?
What or how? It could be either what or how. So really it could be how different this night is from all other nights. And then there's 4 parts. Then they have 4 more parts to it showing the differences. Or it could be or what is the difference of these? What is the difference of this night than any other night? It doesn't say why is this night different. It had to be lama. Ma means either how different this is, or what are the differences of this night? Okay. Now, if the first now you have four parts, four differences. Shebachol ha'leilos anu ochlim chametz matzah halayla zeh matzah. All of the nights we eat chametz matzah, and this night we only eat matzah. And the answer comes later. We already discussed the answer because it's a poor man's bread, or we were slaves, and that's what we ate when we were in Egypt. Then it says, all of the nights we eat various vegetables, and this night we eat a bitter vegetable. Well, and of course we know that's to remind us of slavery that we had in Egypt. Now it's in the third one. All of the nights we never dip. Well, not required to dip any food into, in this case we used to do it into salt water. We didn't want the chlorosis. But now we have dipped twice. And the last one is all of the nights we eat sitting up or reclining. And this night we recline, especially in certain mitzvahs. In the time of the Talmud, that was the way they used to eat the whole meal. They were always reclining. So that was a sign of a liberated, free person.
Yeah, Rabbi.
Yeah. Yes.
I do know in the Sephardic community, they use a different order because a child does not see you eating matzah first. The first thing he sees is that you're reclining.
Yeah.
And if you look in the Sephardic Siddur, I know the Rambam has it like that.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. And in the time of the Mishnah, they had a different statement. The Mishnah brings it down in Psachim. The Mishnah says, it says Sheba. Get it? It says here it is, and I'll read it to you. It says Shebachol halelos, all nights, onu ochlin basot tzli shluk buchal. We eat roasted meat. We eat boiled meat, well-cooked meat. Alayla zeh kulom saliyah. This night we only have roasted. Why don't we have that point? It's obvious. Why don't we say that thing? It's omitted from. That's what the Mishnah says, but we don't say it.
We don't have the Korban Pesach now.
That's it. We don't have a Paschal lamb, so we just have the bone there. So it doesn't relate to us. So in place of this particular point, we have the one that says well all of the nights we sitting up straight or reclining, and this night reclining when we do the mitzvahs anyway. That's not recorded in the Mishnah. Because in those days, everybody reclined. There was nothing different about it. Now, we don't recline when we eat usually. Once in a while, maybe. But that's why we have that particular point was inserted in place of the other point where they ate only roasted. Getting back to that, why did they only eat roasted meat? Why was the Paschal lamb roasted? They couldn't just cook it. You had to roast it. That'd be tzli eshu matzos. They had to roast it and eat it with matzah. Why did it have to be roasted? No, because that was the commandment of the Torah. Tzli eshu matzos. You have to roast it. And the reason why it's roasted, according to our commentators, is because when you roast meat, it brings forth an aroma, and you can smell it outside. A distance away, you're still smelling the roasted, the meat that's being roasted. So, because we wanted the Egyptians to see what's happening to their gods. But of course, nowadays we have no sacrifices. It's not necessary. In fact, many people do not eat roasted most meat, whatever they're having that night, because they don't want anybody to think that maybe they're going ahead and offering a sacrifice to God. That's why it's a custom of many people not to eat roasted, only to have it cooked. Okay. Right. The next part. We go ahead and say the following. After the four questions, not like I mentioned, not really 4 questions, but that's what it's called. And it says, Avadim hayinu lefar b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Paro in Egypt. Okay. Vayotzienu Hashem Elokeinu misham b'yad chazaka u'zro netuya. God took us out with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. I think one time I mentioned the difference. What's the difference between God taking us out with a strong hand, or we say with an outstretched arm? Are they the same, or does it have some differences between them? Yeah. Okay. Some say that there are. It's a difference. Yod chazakah means the strong hand meant the punishments that the Egyptians received. Besides the 10 plagues later on when they were drowned in the Sea of Reeds. When it says Mizroa Netuya, an outstretched hand, like its arm, that shows God's relationship to us. He smote the Egyptians, that was with a strong hand. But what happened? When you stretch out your arm, it's the start of it to embrace somebody, you do that. So God showed his love to us. He embraced us and was able to liberate us from Egypt. At the same time, he went ahead and he used a strong hand and punished the Egyptians for what they did. So that's the difference between Yod Chazakah, a strong hand, and an outstretched arm. Okay. Then by the way, we call the one who's the author of the Haggadah, we always see the Magid. You know, it really developed over the years. All the Haggadah part that we have here, they didn't have that in Egypt. They didn't have it many years. But the only thing they did, even when the Beit HaMikdash was around, they maybe discussed something about the Haggadah, about the going out of Egypt, but they basically were eating, had a meal with the Chagigah, the holiday sacrifice, followed by the Paschal lamb, and eating matzah, doing all the mitzvahs, and they had this discussion. In fact, the Gemara brings down a psachim that after they went ahead and finished their meal, I suppose they said Birkat HaMazon, the bench, they would leave their houses, or their apartments, whatever it was in those days, and they would sit around the wall of Jerusalem. It would be, I suppose, some sort of like benches, I suppose. I think this is, and people will be sitting around. You have to just picture this. It must have been hundreds, maybe most probably thousands of people sitting around by the walls of Jerusalem, and they started to sing. Certain sings and the songs they were singing, maybe how they were singing, it must have been a beautiful thing. So that's what they used to do. That's recorded in the mission after their meal. Okay. And it says, okay, lo hotzi hakodesh baruch hu, as I was saying in Mitzrayim, but if God did not bring forth our people, our ancestors from Egypt, hari'anu uvanenu uvanenu b'shubinu l'hinu l'faro b'Mitzrayim. Very interesting. It says that if he didn't bring us out at that particular time, who knows what would happen to us? We'd be slaves for the rest of our lives. We, our children, children's children, and so on. There is a midrash that says, at least in those days, no slave was able to escape from Egypt. It was somehow they just couldn't do it. So that's why it was a tremendous miracle when God was able to take all of us out, out of Egypt, and give us this freedom. Even if all of us were sages, people of great knowledge, knowing the entire Torah, nevertheless, we have the mitzvah to speak about the going out of Egypt. So even though you could be knowing, we know the story basically, but even if you do know it, there's always some parts of it that you don't know, and you can elaborate and embellish on it. So that's what the mitzvah is, to speak about the going out of Egypt, elaborating on it and explaining with more detail what it means. then and the Chol Amar Belasapim Mitzrayim Havzeh Meshubach, and if you speak a lot about the going out of Egypt, you shall be praised for that particular thing, and then they bring a maser, a incident to back it up. Usually the Haggadah, whenever it says something, it wants to bring a proof. It just got through telling you that you should, even if you're a scholar and you're well learned, nevertheless you have an obligation to elaborate on this on the Exodus from Egypt. And we have 5 great scholars here. But they bring an incident. Ma'aseh Rabbi Eliezer, Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Tarfon. These were the greatest scholars of that generation. Shayu Masud B'nai Brak, and they were reclining and observing the Seder in B'nai Brak. Remember, this is after the destruction of the Holy Temple. Rabbi Akiva lived during the time the Holy Temple was standing, and he lived afterwards. So you had no Holy Temple at that particular time. They did not have the Paschal Lamb at this time. But you, Misaprim, Mitzrayim goes Lila. They was discussing the Exodus of Egypt the whole night. Oh yeah, that's talking about this. The mitzvahs of speaking about the going out of Egypt, as you see from this particular incident, you could speak the whole night if you so desired. But when it comes to matzah, let's say the matzah and moral, what is the time frame for that? Can you eat your matzah the whole night? Anytime?
No, you have to finish. You have to finish by a certain time.
What's the time? Midnight, but not midnight.
It's not midnight our night. It's midnight a different,
right.
Different clock.
Whatever the midnight, you whatever the night is, from the stars coming out till the break of dawn. So you take the middle of that. That's midnight. It's very possible that the halachic midnight could be 12:20 or 1:45, but it's not midnight 12 midnight. That's not our midnight. Midnight means actually the midpoint, the half point of the given nighttime. So the night it varies during the you have a bigger nighttime in winter. Spring gets shorter. So whatever that is, it could be the halachic midnight, could be 12:30. I mean, I don't know. I didn't have to look at a calendar, but it's not 12 midnight. That's not halachic midnight. Okay.
So when is it calculated? From the first star at night till dawn?
It's usually the next day starts when the stars come out. So you'll have to calculate from the time the stars come out until the break of dawn. And whatever that midpoint is, it could be later than what we call midnight. The halachic midnight could vary. Okay, but you have to look at a calendar. They might have some calendars that have that. But I don't think you have to worry about it. Usually we're through before that. Yeah. But you see from here, when it comes to speaking about the Exodus from Egypt, that could go beyond midnight. Because you see they were discussing the going out of Egypt the whole night, it says. Until the students came and said, Rabbosenu, our rabbis, you're ready. It's already time to say Shema Yisrael. And remember, even the saying the recital of the Shema starts very early. I mean, we say it always. Not all of us are up that early, but even that is a certain time limit. This is when it comes to discussing the Exodus of Egypt, the whole night. But when it comes to eating the matzah and the moror, it should be done by halachic midnight, whatever that time might be. Okay, let's continue with this on. It's Hashem on Thursday at 8 o'clock we start.
Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, we'll meet again then. Have a wonderful day. Any questions? Any last minute comments, observations?
One more thing, Rabbi.
Yeah.
One more thing about lechem oni. The joke was that after you buy the shmura mas and pay for it, then you're an oni.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. It's very expensive. Yeah. But a lot of work goes into it. I happen to be at a hand making bakery. they have to scrub down the place where they're rolling the dough after every time they finish making one part, then they do it again. The oven is cleaned and everything like that.
I know that. Yeah.
It's not like the hand matzah takes a lot of effort, and they got to work very fast. I don't know if you ever were at a hand baking.
Yes, the 18
They
minutes.
really work very hard. They do. Yeah, because they have to do it so fast. From the time that they start kneading the dough until the baking has to be within 18 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll see you, Yatz Hashem. We'll see each other on Thursday night, Yatz Hashem, 8 o'clock.
If my computer is
Thank you
working,
so much.
Take care.
take care.
Okay.
All right, go have lunch.
Bye.
I know.